Hi, everyone. Welcome. For those who are joining us today, delighted that you could make time to join us. If you can, please do us a favor and go into the chat, introduce yourself, your name, organization, where you're dialing in from, and also why is this program interested to you? Why do you want this information? Why is Catalytic Capital of interest to you? Would like to get a sense of why this has caught your attention. Are you currently playing in Catalytic Capital? Are you looking to play in Catalytic Capital? So it would be good to just get a sense of why this is of interest to you. But thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. So just go into the chat. Please let us know your name, your organization, where you're dialing in from, and why this topic is of interest to you. We'll start very shortly. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. For those who are joining us, please just use the chat to let us know your name, organization, where you're dialing in from, and why Catalytic Capital is important to you. Why are you interested in this program? We'll start very shortly. Yeah, I see people from across the continent. That's great. Okay, cool. Welcome, everyone. So my name is Frank. I'm the CEO at AVPA. Thank you so much for joining us for this info session in what I actually think is probably one of the most important programs we want to roll out on the continent to address such a yawning gap as Africa tries to see how we can close our social investment financing gap. So if you look at where we are and where we're going, the world of impact isn't short of money. What we're short of is risk or catalytic capital. And if you think about the whole paradigm and value chain of mobilizing capital for impact, catalytic capital is like the bride in the wedding. Without it, we're not going to be successful in mobilizing the kind of capital required to close the SDG financing gap or the social investment financing gap in Africa. At the current state, we're not in a position to close that financing gap with aid, philanthropy, or government funding. We've got to look at tapping into the private capital available on the continent. And roughly what we need to address the SDGs or social investments in Africa is roughly 10% of what's available in the African financial and capital markets. And it's about 0.2% what's available globally in global financial markets. So we're not short of money. What we're short of is risk capital. And a good understanding of this particular type of capital is significantly important. And it's very, very important for everyone if we are going to be successful in mobilizing the required capital at the right speed and scale. So this is a program that we thought long and hard about offering. Ultimately, it was one that we decided was very important for Africa, and we're delighted that we are able to not only host the program, but also host this info session. And one of the things we want to do is to make sure that we give you the best that we can. We're delighted to our partners, C3 Catalytic Capital Consortium. For those of you who don't know them, they're arguably the largest world consortium dealing in catalytic capital and one of the pioneers in this space. Open Capital as well. This is the second year we're running this program. And Africa, you're very lucky, actually. This program is not run in many other places, so delighted to have this program for the continent. And I'm looking forward to not only having you participate in the program, but also be part of the community of practice that we build after the program. So our engagement with you doesn't stop with the program. We continue to support your growth through additional support and services thereafter. more so if you're a member of AVPA, but even if you're not, the community of practice becomes one that you can all belong to. Delighted to have Ryan here, who was part of the faculty last year, being the lead faculty this year. Very happy to have Ryan. And I want to thank my colleagues as well, who've done a lot of work in getting this program ready. Victor, Eric, Sam, Susan, Shadrach, all the people on this call, you're very, very grateful about that. Before I leave, though, I just wanted to share something with you. We got the next slide. For those of you who follow us on social media, you'll notice that we have changed the location of our 2026 AVPA conference from Mombasa to Cape Town. The dates remain the same, but I just want all of you to take note of the fact that we'll be having the conference in Cape Town 2nd to 4th of November. So we look forward to having all of you here. And one of the good news, in addition to everything, is that if you sign up for the Catalytic Capital Training Program, you get an additional 5% off the conference price for Cape Town. So it's something we give all the fellows who come into our programs. So you'll have a 5% discount on the AVPA conference tickets for November if you sign up for the Catalytic Capital Training Program. So without further ado, I'll hand over to my colleague Sam. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Frank. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. I can see colleagues from all over globally, from Geneva, Switzerland, from Ethiopia. And once again, Frank, thank you for the invitation. So I'd like just to take this opportunity to walk us through the schedule for today. So one of the key things that we are going to be discussing is just an overview around our various fellowship programs. Then our colleague from Open Capital, Ryan Ombara, will be able to walk us through the fellowship content. But we want to use this opportunity today to really engage, listen to you and hear from you, any feedback that you would want us to give as we run through this Catalytic Capital Fellowship. But over and above that, also the other fellowship that we are learning within our AVPA Knowledge Sharing and Leadership Development Center. So as Frank has mentioned, AVPA is part of the broad network of social players across the continuum of capital. We run all the way from pure charity, where the foundations and the corporate sit, all the way to other players like non-financial service providers who really provide the technical aspect across the social capital. And there are three key things that we are looking at fulfilling within the Pan-African space as AVPA. Number one, we give you the platform to collaborate with the other players within the continuum of capital. Number two, we give you the opportunity to learn from each other and exchange best practices in terms of what is working within the Pan-African space. And then the third key thing, which is also part of this fellowship, we give you the opportunity to enhance your skills and knowledge in innovative finance approaches and models. Overall, one of the key things that we pride ourselves as AVPA is that our programs are globally informed, but also at the same time, they are very locally rooted. So whatever good practices we see globally, we are able to curate them and have an understanding within this Pan-African space. One of the key things that I would want to just outline in terms of you joining AVPA membership is that we have our headquarters here in Nairobi, Kenya, with regional leads across East Africa, West Africa, as well as South Africa. And we are part of the broader Thriving Sister Network in Europe, which is Impact Europe, the Latin America, Latin Pacto, the Asia Philanthropy Network. So we are part of that global workforce. And all these discussions that we are having around catalytic capital, around innovative finance models are all anchored from the peer-to-peer learning model with the rest of our sister networks. Take this opportunity to quickly outline how our AVPA fellowships look like. So they are part of the broader network of ensuring that whatever good practices are happening within the Pan-African space are shared across. And they are anchored under 6 critical components. The first one, we make sure that we interact with expert instructors, not only people that have classroom experience, but they also have that practical hands-on involvement within the Pan-African space. The second one is making sure we respond to the aspect that I mentioned at the start, being locally rooted. So we ensure that all our fellowships have a Pan-African focus, making sure that we're able to respond to the African markets, the challenges, as well as the extent of opportunities that are there. The third one is around being part of a peer network, especially the community professionals who are practitioners in the field, and to ensure that we have a community of practice at the very tail end that will be able not only to scale up the learning from these fellowships, but also at the same time ensure that you are able to also collaborate and have that hands-on engagement with the fellow peers in the space. We also pride ourselves in having a flexible learning opportunity. Each and every one of our sessions is recorded, and we also have a learning management system under the AVPA Leadership Development Center. So not only you being part of this and the open webinars that we host, but also making sure that you have access to this content over and above your graduation at the end of the 6 weeks. The other key thing which I've really emphasized about is the practical skills. Within the AVPA Knowledge Sharing and Learning Center, we usually pride ourselves in being a leader in a cutting-edge research. So all these case studies that you have been able to do are available to you within our AVPA Knowledge Center. But over and above that, we also invite guest lecturers who will be part of these engagements, and you'll be able to just engage with them and hear from the field the actual what we call boots on the ground. How are they implementing this catalytic capital besides other fellowships? And then the last one is a professional certification through which can be verified at any time by someone emailing our learning center and making sure that you have that authenticated. Over to the next slide. I'll want to quickly walk you through the lines of at the very start. We really want to hear back from you. And one of the key things that you want to ask from you is just in the next half a minute in capital in Africa. So please share with us. Let's continue engaging with you. Now, I mentioned our fellowships. I will start off with the fellowship that started up at the start of this year, the Africa Impact Investing Fellowship. So that is a fellowship that has been undertaken for the last 4 cohorts. It's our longest running fellowship. And we have been engaging with Gail, who is our lead from Oxford University. She's the lead for PFC Social Impact Advisors. And that is coming to the end in the next 2 weeks. And it has really been an engaging journey with the part of the fellows that have been part of the audience. And we are looking forward to just growing and embedding the aspect of impact investing across the Pan-African space. The second one, which is lined up next, is the one that we are discussing today. If we can just move to the next slide, and that is the Catalytic Capital Fellowship. This is the second cohort. We had a cohort last year, and the participants have really shared their testimonials around how they are moving capital across the Catalytic Capital space. We invite you to participate in this Catalytic Capital Fellowship, offered in partnership with Catalytic Capital Consortium, as well as Open Capital. And I would say it's the first of its kind because we are really dwelling on the good practices from the Catalytic Capital Consortium, as well as the good practices emanating from Open Capital, who are over and above being our faculty over the previous cohort. They also have that hands-on experience in deploying Catalytic Capital. So the key days that you are looking at is we would want to onboard you in the next few weeks. So the kickoff is on 13th May. And as we move on to the next slide, I'll be able to just walk you through what that will entail. The third one that we have lined up for this year is the Impact Measurement and Management Fellowship. If you may remember, over the last year, we have been undertaking a webinar series in collaboration with our peers from Impact Frontiers, as well as some of the faculty from the Oxford around system thinking in IMM. So we are bringing the Impact Measurement and Management Fellowship to the Pan-African space. Now moving from a webinar series and from the masterclass series that we have been done over the last 2 conferences to making you as a professional to shape the capital allocation and social impact in Africa by defining how you are able to measure that. Look out, for the announcement on the start, and most probably that one we have likely to start off on 3rd of June. Now, moving on to the next slide, I would want to give special recognition to our partners, which our CEO Frank has mentioned, the Catalytic Capital Consortium, which was founded by the initial strategic partners, Kinley MacArthur Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, and Omida Network. And they are the ones who are really responsible in defining how this curriculum looks like, but also at the same time, they are the ones that have been really helping us and assisting us in bringing on board the guest lecturers. And lastly, Open Capital. And I know Ryan will be able to discuss more around Open Capital and what they do during the time that will be onboarding in this. In the next slide, I want to answer the question, who is this one for? We outlined this across 3 key facets. The first is if you are deploying catalytic capital in Africa, where it doesn't matter where you are based, as well as you have a proportion of your catalytic capital being deployed in Africa, this catalytic capital fellowship is for you. The second one is the intent. If you have an intention of moving from the traditional models of social impact investing to embracing the forthcoming catalytic capital approach, I would welcome you to use this opportunity to really bring that intention to life. And the third one is if you are someone with a lot of pride in growing your knowledge and experience on how to deploy catalytic capital. Allow me to just also outline one of the key interesting things that you learn. This is a course that is really meant for someone who doesn't have a financial background. All you need is just that intention and willingness to learn and to be able really to break down those aspects of catalytic capital onto you. So if you fit across all these 3 areas, you are welcome to join and really participate in this. Over to the next slide. I would want to just outline the 60 key things that you are looking at as you join to this. Number 1, if you are someone that is looking for a foundation in catalytic capital principles and how to unlock that for impact, this course is for you. If you are looking at the practical tools, of course, I'm really happy about around the age that we are entering in. Anything that you would want to do is covered under artificial intelligence, but sometimes you need to come to a place whereby you have other practitioners to learn this. The third one is if you are looking to collaborate, this one is for you. If you are looking to have some case studies and data simulations around how to apply that knowledge in real world context, this content is for you. If you are looking at support for organizational readiness to have those strategy transition, I would add that over and above the 6 weeks and the group sessions, we also have one-on-one closed-in sessions with our faculty lead for this session, Ryan, who will be able to also advise you in terms of organizational readiness, as well as deal simulations and the practical tools. And the last one, also an opportunity to learn from each other. And as AVPA, our Knowledge Sharing and Leadership Development Center, we pride ourselves in utilizing the peer-to-peer learning model, which is a model whereby you are able to learn from with people that are working horizontally across the space that you're in. Moving on to the next slide. These are the key things that I would want you to look into, the how to do it. Number 1, I invite you to register for the fellowship and make sure that you're able to make the payment. And from there, we will be able to give you that opportunity for onboarding. And at any moment, I'm available with the rest of my colleagues, Victor, Susan, and Shadrach, who are on this call, to be able to clarify anything that you may need to. The sessions will be held for 6 weeks, so I would want you to lock this in. That's 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. East African time. You can be able to work that out around the GMT. But what we usually do within AVP, we usually send a calendar hold once you participate in this and a reminder early in advance. And in case you miss any of the sessions, we are able to share with you session recordings and give you the first priority for our community one-on-one sessions. And then in the graduation, like I mentioned, like all fellowships, we are having a certificate that is issued to you and invite you to join the Catalytic Capital Alumni Group, whereby you'll continue advancing the knowledge. And like the CEO has mentioned, you also have the opportunity for the 5% discount during the upcoming AVPA conference at Cape Town. Over to the next slide. So what does it involve to join this? We have really tried to listen to the audience and the suggestion that you gave, including the request for scholarship. Even though the request for scholarship is currently not there, what we have done is extended a discount offer. The standard fees for such a fellowship is 2,000, and this is really friendly based on the value proposition, access to the Catalytic Capital Consortium, access to the practical hands-on knowledge from Open Capital, and the opportunity to interact with peers across the Pan-African space. So that standard fees is the 2,000. And we have extended a discount if you become an AVPM member. Having outlined the benefits of AVPM membership in the first few slides, you're going to enjoy this 15% discount over and above discounts that you'll be able to enjoy across AVPA offerings. And if you're an organization, we listened to you, and one of the feedback that you are receiving was that majority of organizations prefer to bring 2 or more participants to ensure that whatever knowledge that is gained in such fellowships is applied across the organization. So you can really talk to your talent development lead within the organization and just make them know that we have this organizational offer of 20% for 2 or more staff. And in case over and above this information session, you feel you need to have more engagement, we are always open, myself, Ryan, and Victor, to also engage with you as an organization and understand what you're looking to gain from this fellowship. On to the next slide. These are the links that for payments as well as the direct bank transfer. We'll come to that later on, and we'll be able to share that once this webinar is done. And as we move to the next slide, I want to now take this opportunity to invite Ryan, who will be discussing around some of the course content you'll be looking to. And at the end of the session of Ryan, you'll be able to have a question and answer, but feel free to post any questions in the chat or in the Q&A on the lower bottom of your screen. Over to you, Ryan. And Eric, just to confirm, is there some question to the audience before we move over to Ryan? No. Okay, over to you, Ryan.
Thank you so much, Samuel, and thank you as well, Frank, for helping to set the scene for today's session. Again, welcome to everybody, and we're really excited to have you join us for the Catalytic Capital course. I think we're going to have a very exciting 6 weeks, and we'd really love for you to be part of this. With respect to myself, my name is Ryan. I'm project leader at Open Capital. I've been with the team for about 7.5 years, so I've been able to see different types of organizations who have tried to approach Catalytic Capital, often from a position of starting from scratch and wanting to identify what the best course of action is for them, or organizations that would come to us as they want to refine how it is either they're building their capital stack when it comes to Catalytic Capital, or trying to refine the approach that they will take towards helping to advance African economies. Open Capital, for those of you who are not aware, is a management consulting and financial advisory firm that is committed to Africa's growth and to building the next generation of African business leaders. We were started in 2010, so we've got about a 16-year footprint across the continent. And as Frank had mentioned at the very beginning, this is our second time helping to work with the different participants who'd like to learn about Catalytic Capital. I was part of the faculty last year, and I'm returning again this year. So really excited to be interacting with you all, and hopefully we get to interact even more when we begin the sessions. As a primer, as we go to the next slide, we really just want to frame the fact that this course is designed to actually help you deepen your ability to deploy and enable Catalytic Capital across African markets. So we've designed this as a 6-session online training delivered jointly by AVPA, with Open Capital being the lead facilitators. And of course, all of this is facilitated through the wonderful partnership we've had with the Catalytic Capital Consortium. To go even deeper into why we designed this course, we want this to be a course that's helpful for different practitioners across the African impact investing ecosystem, and even people who are interested in entering into this ecosystem. So we're looking at investment professionals, foundation officers, or general ecosystem players who really want to deepen their knowledge and some of their practical skills in terms of deploying or enabling Catalytic Capital. We've built out our sessions across 6 different course modules. And this is designed to take us down a journey from understanding the fundamentals or the foundations of what is catalytic capital, what is that capital gap that we're trying to address, and what is the capital spectrum that can actually fit within this, all the way down to helping you identify or at least articulate your full catalytic capital rationale. And then, of course, we have the wonderful bits at the end where we have our certification and we have our celebrations at the end. In terms of what the sessions look like, you can see that currently on the screen, but maybe just take you through that journey. For session number 1, we'll of course be introducing the course and helping to understand some of the basics around catalytic capital, some key definitions, and some key frameworks that we'll be using to move forward during the sessions. Session number 2 builds on that by now introducing the 6-step framework. It will introduce what we call the institutional catalytic capital sandbox, and we'll dive into more detail as to what it is that makes capital catalytic at the end of the day. For any of you who, this is from the VPA staff, mostly those who were with us last year, session 3 and session 4 were actually one session where we touched on the demand side and the supply side of catalytic capital. This year, we feel that there's quite a lot of use in breaking these out into 2 different sessions. I think this is one of the major bits of feedback that came from participants last year. And we really want to go into each. So on the demand side, want to map out the capital gaps, want to look at what could be defined as transient as opposed to structural gaps in the market, and looking at what investee needs are. Then on the supply side, we want to look at what the investor universe looks like and what crowding in of catalytic capital can actually look like. In this case, we'll be looking at segmenting CC providers. I'm just going to use CC rather than catalytic capital. It is a bit of a mouthful. We'll then look at investor barriers that typically stop them from participating in CC, and then some aggregation strategies that might work for you or for different consortiums of players. In the 5th session, we'll now go deeper into the capital structure and how to enhance the impact that you have within your CC. So that's looking at Tideline's 5 Ps. I don't want to talk to them right now, just so that you can, pay for the course and come and learn them during the sessions. We want to understand how much CC is actually needed, depending on the type of structural gaps you're trying to address, and how you can actually embed impact within what it is you're deploying as CC. And then at the end, we'll now look at the full CC rationale. There will be assignments, and I'll come to that in just a minute. And then, of course, there'll be the certification. And then from there, we hope to now launch the COP, the community of practice, where you will, now that you've been given the mandate to now, move forward with deploying catalytic capital, etc., form those relationships and move forward with them. We don't want to just have these as lectures that we provide over the next 6 weeks, and that is starting from May the 13th. But what we really want to do is make this as interactive and fit for purpose for you as possible. So the course is structured to make sure that you can get to a practical understanding of how you will approach catalytic capital and how you will deploy it within your organization. For that purpose, at the end of every session, we will actually charge you with assignments. So each participant will complete their own personalized CC investment brief. This will be based on a public case study. However, to the point that Samuel had actually mentioned, if you would actually like to speak a little bit more to your own experiences, we have what we are calling office hours, which will be optional 30-minute weekly sessions where you will sit down with the course facilitators just to get either feedback on your current assignment or to speak more to some of the learnings that you've gotten during the sessions. And maybe you'd like to take it a step further by seeing how that can actually be applied in practice. So speaks to the value that Samuel was talking about. We want to make sure that you're able to come out of this with tangible next steps. So in addition to your assignments, which we will emphasize that you complete, we will have 30-minute slots available for you on a first come, first serve basis for you to get as much information as you need for you to soft test or hard test some of the ideas that you have. We're available to support you with that. There will also be some open Q&A sessions if there's actually quite a lot of demand for these office hours. So these would be plenary sessions where you can ask us as many questions as you want relating to the course. And in those contexts, I think we can now get even more conversations going. Again, to make this as rooted as possible in real African contexts and situations, we're very privileged to have a number of guest speakers. We'll have at least one guest speaker from across the continent speaking to their approaches or their real world deal experience or their perspectives with respect to how they've approached catalytic capital. This will kick in from, we hope actually from the very first session, where we just want people to help you understand what catalytic capital is, to actually going into the deployment considerations that they bore in mind when they went into deploying it, how they've approached stuff from the demand side and the supply side, how they've structured that capital, and how they've worked to enhance the impact of their CC, and then the investment rationale, how that ties in all together from their perspective as practitioners. So the guest speakers will be fantastic. The office hours will also be helpful for you, and the assignment will help to crystallize everything. But before we start, and once you have been onboarded, there will be pre-reads that we send in advance of our sessions. These will be made available on a shared folder for you to access throughout the duration of the course and even afterwards. These will really be provided to help you engage more deeply with the live session, so you come in understanding some of the items that we will be covering, and will also help you generate some of the questions that will help to drive a lot of the dialogue that we have. So we'd encourage you to look through these pre-reads, to ask as many questions as you can, because we really want you to get to the point where you can start deploying the CC at the end of the day. I believe that is the only slide I had, Victor, unless there's something else on the next slide. Nope, I think that's pretty much it. So otherwise, really looking forward to you guys joining us. We really have curated a very strong curriculum for you, and we really hope that we'll have some good engagement, not just over the next 4 weeks, the next 6 weeks once we kick this off, but beyond even that as we build that community of practice moving forward. So thank you all so much, and I'll hand back over to Victor and Samuel as we go into the Q&A session.
Thank you so much for that, Ryan. We are right on to the top of the last few minutes to just hear back from you. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them. But also at the same time, we also want to hear from you. What is the value add that you are looking into as you partake in this fellowship? So in the next half minute, as we look to take up the questions from the audience. Okay, thank you for that, Eric. So just to please feel free to lift your hand, and I will be able to just give you the opportunity to unmute and raise your audience. I'll start off with Maya. I know you had a few, you raised your hand at the very start, and then from there you can go to Anthony. Maya, please proceed, unmute and ask your question, and then from there we'll go to Anthony. Mayaya Mark from Tanzania, are you able to unmute and speak?
Everyone. My question is on about the fellowship fee, because it seems a lot of money. If you convert in T shillings, you have around 4M. So it's around 5M, because it's 4.7 something. So how can this cost be cushioned so that in participants like ours at our organization we can join?
Thank you for that, Maya. We can take the next question from Anthony. Anthony, please unmute and ask your question.
Hi, Samuel. Thanks so much for the session. I think Frank was attempting to answer my question. I just had a follow-up, Frank, around the level of seniority between the two different fellowships. If you're sort of mid-level, call it 10 years plus of experience between the two, the impact versus the catalytic, which one would you believe to be more appropriate? Thanks.
So, Anthony, let me start with it all depends on what level of decision-making seniority you sit on in your organization. So we find that in most cases, people who come into the Catalytic Capital program are people who are kind of strategically directing the organization in a particular direction. They are probably shifting some of the strategic pillars, the direction the organization is going through. They are trying to test different structures. They're influencing the organization to move from, in some cases, traditional philanthropy into catalytic investing. They're looking to partner with different partners, mainly private capital players if they're philanthropists, or they're private capital players who are trying to see how they can kind of de-risk some of their pipeline by working with catalytic players, and they want to know how to best position themselves with regards to tapping into catalytic capital. So it really depends. I think for me, it's less about the seniority, it's about what decisions are you making. If you're really a key decision maker in the organization, I mean, we have had board members who've come into the program because they want to shift the organization from traditional philanthropy, some foundations, into catalytic investing. They're supporting SMEs, for example, and they want to see how this can increase SME funding. And we've had, so they've come in not only executives from the organization, but also board members. So when this decision goes upwards to the board, there's endorsement and an understanding of what it means for them to be moving into catalytic investing. So that would be how I'd answer your question. So it depends. If you're making some key strategic decisions around how capital is being deployed, how it's being structured, this is it. If you are more part of a team that is kind of moving you towards impact investing broadly, and you just need to have the knowledge to support the organizational direction, then the AWIF could also be for you. We've also had people who've taken the AWIF first and then they've come into the Catalytic Capital program.
Great, thank you.
Let me take Maya's question. So Maya, you ask. I hear you. Yeah. The question around the pricing is one that we get occasionally. I think what's most important is to also understand maybe clearly just a quick reminder of what you're getting. I personally think that the way this program is designed is as good as any you'll get globally. It doesn't matter where you go. This is probably one of the best catalytic capital training programs you'll get. And we're very deliberate about offering excellence to Africa and not having Africa just do a program for the sake of it. That's why we partnered with the best globally to design this program. So you look at what we've put into this program offers really good value for money. And then the value you get doesn't stop just at what you pay for the ticket price. The value extends way before that. The community of practice we give you is really where a lot of the learning happens, where you engage with your peers and you're able to find collaborators and partners, so on and so forth. I think it's pretty good value for money. And I don't want to mention the fact that, of course, we have costs we have to incur to bring the best possible faculty for you. So we've got to cover those costs. AVPA, we're a non-profit. So we're not a for-profit organization. So we don't try we can't carry this cost on our own, in essence. But I'm hoping that the value we offer will be worth it for you, not just in the short term, but in the long term. The impact you could create from the knowledge you gain from me will have a multiplier effect that none of us can comprehend. So I think it's good value for money, broadly speaking. But Maya, we can have an offline conversation.
Thank you, Frank. I can see Felice and Como. You have a question, so please proceed and unmute and post your question.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Frank, for actually inviting me to this conversation. I wasn't aware of it. I missed some of the fellowship, but I just caught the conversation right at the end. I mean, perhaps there's a question that was asked around what's the possibility of cushioning some of the costs. Perhaps the seed I want to plant is, because I'm also interested in that, is to look at AVP partnering with some of the philanthropic organizations who now and again struggle to actually either find people who can do impact measurements or even capital deployment or even intermediaries in the sector and see if, and I think the good idea that Frank makes, the point I mean that he makes is that AVPA is a non-profit organization which really stands or has legitimacy to even potentially raise funding to cross-subsidize people who would be keen to participate and particularly who may be affordability issues, but also from the institutions that they come from, institutions that could really play a critical role. I mean, I know, for instance, there's been a massive demand in the market, particularly in the continent, where different funds have really been set up for both impact fund and philanthropic. But in essence, the measurement impact capacity is sitting outside of the continent because it's not a skill that you walk in and find it at university. You likely have to actually go and register at university. I'm just planting the seed that I think for me, that's really a massive opportunity. I think my next point is whether it's going to be possible. I mean, I posted my email address and I wanted to know if you'll be able to share information on the fellowships. I'm quite interested, but also I know I belong in a network of many women's group, but in the development and finance ecosystem where I could share some of the information going forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Felicia. Yes. Yeah. So on the information we'll share. So you'll get we'll have a follow-up email to you. And thank you for joining us. First of all, great to have you here. And then on the funding issue, we do try. So we have some partners who will give us very ring-fenced scholarships. So one of the things we want to do around catalytic capital is to make sure we don't leave governments behind. Governments are arguably the largest holders of catalytic capital in any country, but we need to shift them to start thinking like catalytic investors. So we are talking to one or two organizations who hopefully will fund scholarships for government officials. So we can have a lot more government officials in the know with regards to catalytic capital, because it then sets up a really good foundation for them to test and try things like outcome-based financing models and other blended finance structures within government. And we've seen in this time when you have to do more with less, catalytic capital is really the missing ingredient in enabling you to do that. And governments are one lot of people we should not leave behind. And we're very deliberate about that at AVP to bring them along. So if we have any partners out there who are willing to fund some scholarships, and we'd be happy to have a conversation with them. And we do try to find funders, but it's not easy. As you know right now, there's just resources globally are really scarce at the moment. So it's really tight. Nkusi, so you have your suggestion is pretty cool actually. We have done this sort of things before. So Nkusi he'd asked if this training could be embedded into the conference program to have a final masterclass at the conference and then launch the COP at that point in time. Absolutely, we've done this sort of things with previous programs. We've had masterclasses to kick off the program as well in each of the previous conferences. So masterclasses in all these topics are core part of this, and more so in catalytic capital, because we think this is the one thing the continent needs to get right. So absolutely, we'll for sure have a small gathering of the cohort at conference. So if you come, we'll do that. Whether it's a final class or not, that will be decided. But a final class assumes that everyone's going to make it, and we don't want anyone to miss out on this. So we might have maybe a small refresher and a couple of drinks at conference, but we look forward to having you at conference nonetheless.
So thank you for that, Frank. Thank you, Ryan. So Ryan, just to cross-check with you, I know there are some questions you responded on to right away. maybe a quick recap as we move to the next slide. And once again, maybe Frank, as Ryan responds to that, some of them might have missed our announcement on the location change. So I can bring you immediately after Ryan. Ryan, any quick reactions?
No, only point here is that some of the questions were really good, and I hope that I've been able to answer them well. Again, we hope to cover them. As I said, there was maybe a lot of questions around how this actually moves towards practicality, and I think part of that is through the assignment that we'll be having. Of course, our default exercise will be a public case, but if you do want to use sort of some of the prompts that we have within the assignments to think about how you yourself can actually embed Catalytic Capital into your organization, please feel free to do that. And then you can use the office hours as a testing ground for some of the answers that you come up with or some of the approaches that are coming up through your interaction with the questions. We want this to be as practical and useful for you as possible. So if anything does come to mind that you'd like to soft test with us, please feel free to do that. And we'd want to start that not just within this session or the sessions that we'll be having, but within the community of practice. We can even try to identify different people that you could partner with in terms of deploying your Catalytic Capital. So thank you all.
Thank you. Over to you, Frank. And maybe Frank, as I hand to you, over to you. Just to mention that our classes are usually very curated. So when we mention that we usually have check-in office hours, we always make sure that we have a very limited classroom. So once we hit a mark around the ideal size of 30 to 40 participants, we just close out at that point. So just to encourage you to take advantage of this and utilize the discounts we have given you as a group, and also make sure that you're able to take advantage of this in good time. Otherwise, we may end up putting you in the wait list for the next cohort, which happened in the last year's cohort, and we don't want that to happen. Over to you, Frank.
Yeah, so thanks. So we've filled about 50% of the class already. And as Sam mentioned, that we have a cap just to make sure we have a quality class and the size that we can manage. So do reach out to us if you've got anything. There's a couple other things I do want to also mention to you that you can plug into. We're always trying to offer value addition services to the ecosystem. One that I want you to join us if you can is we've got this really cool AI capital flow tracking tool that we launched at our conference in November last year. So one of the issues people came to us was saying, we actually don't know how money is moving on the continent, who's doing what, where, when, in which country, through which SDG, so on and so forth. So we took about a year and a half to build this platform, and we started tracking data from January 2023. The latest data is March 2026, and we update it every month. And now you can track capital flows on the continent by country, by SDG, by instrument, if you just want to look just maybe at just guarantees or just blended finance, or even just look at Catalytic Capital, which we're talking about today. All of that sits on this data platform. It's a really exciting data tool. Those who've used it have used it to identify new partners, because we're also tracking something close to over 300 organizations and investors on the platform, from DFIs, family offices, foundations, fellow fund managers, DFIs, aid agencies, corporates, governments, funds of funds. That we're tracking a large number, and we keep adding. As if we identify an organization that is not on our database, we just add them on, and we can give you the data. But people have used it to identify new partners. They've used it to find out where the gaps are from an instruments perspective, like we find, and this substantiates what we know. If you look at healthcare and education, these are largely grant-driven, grant-funded sectors, and the data tool shows us that. So massive room for us to come in with innovative finance, so we can bring more private capital into that space. And they are the two sectors that have been most affected by the aid cuts. So anyone playing in that space and also coming into this training program of Catalytic Capital, you'll really get a good understanding of trying to see what are the instruments, how do you use Catalytic Capital to bring in private capital, how do you structure it, what blended finance structure do you use, and could you possibly use anything from get a good sense of fast loss application to guarantee, so on and so forth. So it's a really cool instrument, and we have demo sessions now. We've had 2 already. The next one is on 22nd of April, so I urge you to register. And then the next thing for us to also talk about, Pelise, is to talk about the change of location of our conference from Mombasa to Cape Town. The dates remain the same, 2nd to 4th of November. We are super excited to be moving the conference to South Africa. We expect, we had about 480 people last year. We expect close to 600 plus people this year. Tickets will be going on sale most likely end of this week, early next week. And we're delighted to have had such a great reception to the conference this year on the back of last year's success, where we already had something like 250 people who pre-registered on the back of last year's conference for this year's conference. So really looking forward to that. Keep in touch with us on social media. We'll be releasing the theme of the conference in the next couple of days. And then we'll start looking for partners to help us co-create the conference sessions, so on and so forth. Sponsors will also be welcome to join us as well. So most of that stuff should be going online in the next couple of days. So please take note of that. Next slide. Apart from that, do reach out to us online. You probably are in touch with us on LinkedIn, myself included. Or if not, use the email address on the screen, learning@avpa.africa, or just get hold of one of us. I'm sure most of you do know an AVPA staff member or two, but we'll be very happy to continue these conversations beyond this webinar. So delighted to have had everyone here. But before we log off, Victor, any additional announcements? And if not, any questions from the audience, please feel free to just unmute yourself and ask. We'll have another maybe 5 or so minutes. My colleague Eric has put a link for the AI tool demonstration session. It's called the CF Artificial Intelligence Demo. CF is Social Investment in Africa. Basically, it's the tool the name we've given it on the back end, but actually it's a capital tracking tool. So if you do want to join that demonstration session on the 22nd, the link is in the chat. Matthew, so please post again. Felice is asking, please post again. Matthew, one of the things we're looking to do in Catalytic Capital, and actually it's very interesting that you talk about mental health, Matthew. People will know that maybe 2 years ago, we went and set up a massive Catalytic capital pool fund with partners from USAID and SIF. And then stuff happened in the States, so we couldn't continue with that partnership. So what we're doing now, we are setting smaller thematic catalytic pool funds behind communities of practice. And with that, mental health is one of the areas we've decided to go. We're also working on a couple of other catalytic pool funds. One of them being catalytic funds, one of them being in agriculture. And what we're being deliberate about behind these communities of practice is when you come into the catalytic fund for a particular thematic area, we'll have a couple of anchor partners who will provide some big ticket checks to help with investment, but we'll have spaces for Africans to come in with whatever they can afford to come in, so that they can learn from others who've done this before on how catalytic capital works. And in so doing, what you're trying to do is to build capabilities in African organizations so that the scaling up of catalytic capital pool funds or investors in future is built on the back of the experience they've gotten from these communities of practice, because the sustainability we'd like to believe should be African. So there's a lot of value that you get from this community of practice. It's not just the training program. You'll have a chance to come into actually an investment community of practice. So we've got one for agriculture. We're working on one for guarantors, people offering guarantees. And then we've got a couple of people talking to us about doing 2 other potential ones for in healthcare education, actually 3, healthcare education and youth unemployment. So we'll have all these conversations as part of this training program, but it's about building capability so Africans can do more for themselves.
Frank, we have a question from Kido.
Yes, Kido, do you want to unmute?
I don't know if you can hear me. That side, CEO, colleagues.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, sure. I just want to find out regarding the the partnership, but also within the fellowship aspect. Do you also assist in terms of partnerships in that area of Catalyst Capital to say how can different partners come on board or reach on each other? Does the company on your side keep a database of partners that are involved perhaps in the several areas of the Catalyst Capital? I think the one thing I would like to request is if it's possible, maybe a one-on-one session with some of your staff members just to guide before we consider joining the fellowship, if that would be suitable for us.
Yeah. Where are you dialing in from?
Sorry, South Africa, sorry, CEO, yeah.
You're from South Africa?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I'm based in Joburg. I don't know which city you're in. Happy to connect with you, and we've got other colleagues here, Zintle and Tafadzwa. So yes, absolutely. If you do need a one-to-one conversation, by all means, yes. And part of the community of practice is to do exactly that, is connect people to each other. And then there are other platforms AVPA has where you can connect with your peers, or like our deal share platform, for example, so on and so forth. So there's plenty of opportunities.
No, I'll appreciate you. I think I did drop you a text. Maybe when you have time, you'll have a look at it. But I think on the fellowship side, if it's possible, you can connect me someone there so that you can look at the. Yeah, I think I see a text on the group so that we can look into detail how we can consider some of the fellowships there.
Fantastic. We'll get in touch. Thanks.
All right, thanks.
Any more questions or comments? Anyone? So someone has asked a question around, do you provide catalytic funds for new innovations in the health sector? So we don't provide funds. AVP, as I said, we are not a funder, we're a non-profit, we are more enablers and facilitators, but the communities, the investment community of practices we're setting up will do exactly that. Why we lack catalytic capital is that it's there to especially fund and test new ideas, new products, new services, new markets. When they are very risky and a stage where more commercial capital cannot invest in them, that's where catalytic capital comes in, takes them to a proof of concepts phase or stage, where more commercial capital can then take over those innovations and scale them up. So the reason why we're setting up all these investors, community of practice for catalytic investors, is to offer that kind of high risk capital that funds promising early stage pipeline. We also have an investor readiness program that is designed to improve the probabilities of this pipeline accessing investments. But that's exactly why we do those communities of practice for investors, to offer that kind of capital. So I'm excited about our ability to help collaboratives pull catalytic capital in a manner that it can be deployed to African innovation. But most importantly, is to make sure that some of the investors in those communities are actually African. So we are getting African funding African innovation. Felisa, you can unmute and ask your question. Felisa?
I have one question. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yes, thank you so much. Sorry, I didn't introduce it actually properly earlier when I spoke. Pelisa Nkomama, Development Economist from South Africa. I currently work as a consultant for G20 as a policy advisor. I'm keen to hear whether you have engagement with funds that have already been de-risked that are coming through, particularly corporate social responsibility, and if you do, and how do you interface with them and support the appropriate resource allocation. I'll make an example. For instance, I think corporate social responsibilities normally still use the old ways of funding. They fund a school, they fund a clinic, they fund a, what we call soccer facilities. Has there been a shift in terms of thinking about supporting social entrepreneurship proposals with strong commercial value proposition in a medium to long term? I think I'm asking two questions. One is the engagement, but two, if you've seen a shift in those de-risk funds.
Yeah, so you ask a fantastic question, Pelisa. So our job at AVPA, and I know our name has a bit of a misnomer about venture philanthropy, but our job at AVPA, we don't work to grow philanthropy. We are here to leverage philanthropy. There are a lot of other networks who do a really good job at growing philanthropy. We are about leveraging philanthropy and enabling philanthropy to deliver multiplier effect, playing to its strength of having a higher risk appetite. So yes, this is exactly what you're trying to do, is to help philanthropists diversify from being only traditional philanthropists to also embracing catalytic investments, where one of the things they try and measure is leverage. So for every rand or dollar they deploy, how much are they unlocking downstream of private capital? And that way they can build more sustainable solutions to social issues. And for in that particular aspect, we are very deliberate about trying to see how we can get philanthropists to play that catalytic role in supporting market-based solutions that in many cases are profitable, offer affordable services to our people, and can sustain themselves through the revenue they generate. So that's exactly what we're trying to do. And there's multiple cases and examples where these philanthropists are changing, and hence why I mentioned earlier that this program is not just for the executive, the senior executive, but also for board members and other decision makers in the organization who see the need for them to make the strategic shift, because probably as a funder, they're overwhelmed by demand for grants from the organization. And these grants don't seem to be delivering sustainable impact, because every year the grantees are coming back for the same problem or the same funding. But if you shift towards catalytic investing, you can be very catalytic. You can go support an initiative, take it to proof of concept. You can exit, in some cases, even recycle your capital through, depending on what you use, like there's a recoverable grant. So for the first time, foundations are recycling capital. And that initiative that you funded initially can actually grow on to become much bigger than you could have done it on your own. So this is the exciting opportunity for me that I see that Catalytic Capital offers.
Hello, may I?
Yes.
Thank you. Frank, good evening, good afternoon, and Samuel, it's a pleasure. First of all, let me say congratulations. I think I'm one of those people who, in a brief moment, have been able to see the journey that AVP has come through, I think for about 3 or 5 years, if I'm not wrong, something there. I've read through some of your publishes, but I've never been able to engage fully in terms of even attending your conferences for one reason or another. I was really looking forward to this fellowship, but at the same time, if like I said, I work in mental health. I've seen even the part, I mean the pool that you established the other day with good organizations around mental health financing, Kokoro, and so on and so forth. But again, from what you've said, Frank, we understand what has happened globally. I'm still one of those persons who will want to attend the fellowship, going by what it's going to offer, and in a stage where my organization is at, since we're looking at a social entrepreneurship model to maintain a sustainability plan strategy for our organization. We can no longer rely on grants. But here is my issue. The amount that you're asking for the fellowship is a bit steep for us to, especially for me right now, to pay. So I'm asking again, is there an opportunity for a scholarship? Is there a possibility in that class? Is there a donor who can support somebody like us who are coming in, would want to be part of this fellowship, but you cannot afford it? Thank you.
Yeah, Matthew, we're always looking. This is one of the things we, as I mentioned earlier, we try and seek out all the time. So let's definitely stay in touch. If something comes up, we'll have you in mind, and especially because you're working in an area of interest to us. So let's definitely stay in touch.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Pamela, I don't know if Pamela is still on the line. She'd asked a question around is the fellowship helping participants apply catalytic capital frameworks to real client transactions? Yes, there's a theory absolutely that is built within the program to do exactly that, to give you the foundations of being able to take the catalytic capital into transactions. And then if you come into the community of practice of investors, then you actually get to learn by doing, where we actually invest together in various investments. The only thing that community of practice of investors, you have to come in with a bit of money, because everyone comes with a bit of money. They are the anchor players who come in with the big money, and then we've made the hurdle rate for Africans very low. So with a little money, you can come and learn and co-invest with your bigger peers. But the most important thing is that you learn how decisions are made, how catalytic capital is used, how you do due diligence, how you make trade-off decisions, so on and so forth. So the theory is embedded in the program, and we try and we're strong believers that people learn by doing. That's where the investors coming to the practice come in as well. Yandiswa?
Hi, thank you, Frank. I just wanted, on your previous question that was asked earlier, where you responded that you leverage philanthropic capital. And I'm interested to know, what are the downstream implications of redirecting philanthropic capital towards income-generating ventures, particularly on the nonprofit sector, which is structurally somewhat designed, not to make any money at all. Yeah, it's just an interesting dynamic.
Question. No, you ask a good question. So we remember, I even was very deliberate in saying, when we talk to philanthropists, we don't tell them to abandon philanthropy. No. We'll tell them to diversify beyond traditional philanthropy, because there are certain projects and initiatives in Africa that can only be supported by traditional philanthropy. Absolutely no question around it. And we encourage those to continue to be funded as such. The question is that there's a lot of others that probably could be funded differently and be made more sustainable if catalytic capital was used. That's why we encourage the philanthropists to get in and test some of those things. So it's about looking at, where do you have opportunities for capital to be used, because in some cases also, one of the assumptions that people have in Africa is, when they come to Africa to do anything around philanthropy, they assume that Africans like free things. But no, Africans want reliable services. Now, some of those could be affordable, some of those, by paying, and some of those could be through just grants that are offered by the funder. And if you look at the businesses that have grown the most in Africa in the last couple of years, they're serving customers who are earning between 50 cents to $1 a day, very little money, daily wage earners. But if you structure the business properly to go with the cash flow of those individuals, and you offer them affordable services, they are very happy and willing to pay. And in fact, they are very aspirational. Like, if you look at all the companies like M-Copper who are serving, were providing solar lamps. A lot of these guys going to buy a second and third solar lamp. They even have upgraded to solar TVs and solar fridges, just because you structured your payment plan and other things in a manner that even at that small amount of money that they make on a day, they can afford it. So, and that becomes a more sustainable thing. The reality is that there isn't enough philanthropic capital to go around. And so, how do you make the most of it? Some initiatives in Africa will definitely need philanthropic capital, and they should stay as such, funded through grants. But there's others where we should be testing whether there is a more sustainable model to deliver the same solution.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? Maya, do you have another question? Is that an old hand? Maya, is that an old hand or that's a new hand?
Yeah, I think it's an old hand.
Okay. All All right. Okay, folks. I think I'm assuming there's no more questions. You have our contact details. Please stay in touch. We'll be delighted to hear from you. Really excited to have you not just join the program, but also the community. But most importantly, we really want to help you do what you do better, faster, cheaper, and with more impact. And we do this through the knowledge we're able to give you, but also the communities we're able to put you into that amplify your impact way beyond what you could do on your own. That's our own catalytic contribution to this space, is how we're helping you become better at what you do. So thank you so much for your time. If there's no other information or question to be asked, we'll be happy to let you get your time back. But I appreciate it. Thank you so much.